Come on in. Welcome to Let's Bet, the show for folks who love betting on sports but hate losing money. I'm going to show you how to increase your sports betting bankroll by gaining confidence so that you can ultimately live the lifestyle that you deserve. I'm your host, Scott Pritchard, professional full-time sports bettor, 31 years, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com, home of the Pritchard's Pick of the Day. Took third place in the Circa Invitational a year ago, and you can find me each and every weekend in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We're broadcasting live and worldwide each and every Friday, 1 o'clock to 1:30 Las Vegas time, on demand on Pritchard'sPicks.com and on your favorite podcast video distribution platforms. To reach out to us, I would suggest that you email us at letsbet@Pritchard'sPicks.com. That's letsbet@Pritchard'sPicks.com. Before I dive into my 5-star rock star guest this week, you asked for it. It's back by popular demand. A 20, not 5, not 10, and certainly not 25, but a 20% discount on all picks and packages by you tuning in today in the next 30 minutes. In the next few minutes, I will be sharing a coupon code for you to take full advantage of. Now, let's get started. We're going to dive in with my guest, a rock star, 5-star guest here in Las Vegas, professional sports bettor, handicapper, well-known, 2008 Las Vegas Hilton champion, Chip Chirimbes. Chipper, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. This is it's new for me. I mean, you got a great endeavor going here from what I've seen so far, and I wish you all the luck.
I really appreciate that. You're an icon. I mean, I hope you don't mind me telling people how old you are, but you're 75 going on 50. I'm 60 going on 85. But we have a lot of experience between the two of us. But I'm here to tell you, I've done that Superbook contest at the Hilton, and what I can do, you can do better. My first question would be, how in the heck did you overcome all the competitors, a lot of sharps, in that contest back in 2008?
It's a lot of luck, and because a lot of what the professionals out here would do is they take advantage of a line that they're posting the line on Tuesday, and by time Friday comes, and it may be totally different. You know what happens? Herbert went out last week, and the line changed 4 or 5 points. So they would take advantage of that for the most part, but it doesn't always stand up. And you have to be lucky, and you win by half a game, and it's a big payout. So it was great.
I want to take this opportunity to share Pritchard's philosophy, because oftentimes people will talk about luck, and I've always said the harder I work, the luckier I am. Luck, L-U-C-K, laboring under correct knowledge. Now back to the show. Yep. You're a very humble guy, and I love and respect that about you, but I have to tell you, when you talk about luck, hey man, you're talking about 14, 16, 18 weeks. So anyone can be lucky 1 week, but for you to have longevity and to outpick hundreds, if not thousands of people, it's more than luck, my friend.
Well, we put a lot of work into it. I'm sure you do too, and it becomes a way of life. I mean, it's instinctual. You're looking at something, and right away you get an impression, and you just hope all the information that comes through supports your side. And sometimes it doesn't, and then you have to make a decision, and the decisions are the toughest part of it. Once the decision's in, I mean, you're all of a sudden you actually take a breath of relief.
It's funny you say that, because every weekend I'm doing every contest now and having some pretty good luck early. It's only been 3 weeks in, but I'm like a cat on a hot tin roof until that deadline passes. And once my plays are in, to your point, I can chill, relax, decompress. Hey, let's go have a drink. I don't even drink, but I feel like having one.
It's out of your hands now. It's out of your control, and there's nothing you can do but watch or get the finals. And watching sometimes very difficult. I don't concentrate or stay or evaluate, think that it's all as important as many other people do, because I'm looking to evaluate the numbers as opposed to the players. And the beat goes on here no matter what. There's a new number out every week, and you have to look at it and interpret it, and just hopefully that what you're looking for comes on the right side for you. And
how did you initially get started in the sports betting business, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a teacher in Connecticut in a high school, and I was doing a little bit of betting, and I would make a little run into the Bronx on a Monday night and pick up parlay cards, and then come back to Connecticut and started distributing them. But I was a numbers guy, Scott. So whenever I get, no matter how many sheets I'd get at the end of the week, I'd tabulate each and every bet. And you just said key numbers and talking about totals, which I'm not as familiar with as you are, and I'm really hoping to be able to garner something from you with that. But I learned a little something looking at those numbers week in and week out and seeing what was happening with them, and then what was happening against the actual number and how the line had moved and why did it move? Was it sharp people out here in Las Vegas that hit it real quick, or was the public sitting there slowly building it up and moving it during the week? So a lot of adjustments over the time too, Scott. I mean, in this business, things have changed. And right now you've got the props, which are big, the second half bets, which you said you like, and you have so many different variables out there where it used to be you had trouble getting totals when I first started. You would have a side, and that was it. You know, when they first started coming out with these lines, when I moved out to Las Vegas, there was a bank of telephones on the side of the Stardust Hotel, and there would be virtually a lottery for hundreds of people to get in line to be able to get first crack at these numbers. And those numbers would come out at 6 o'clock, and all these guys would run to the phones and call the East Coast and give them the line so that those parlay cards could be printed overnight. And the other professionals would be sitting, waiting in line. And if you drew a fifth spot and a sixth spot, by the time you got there, that line was already been softened and crushed. And it was a different game from that point because we're playing against a number.
It's funny that you say that because in the mid to late 90s, I was actually involved heavily with a sports betting group that moved big money for Billy Walters. And to your point, the old Stardust, which is now basically the Resort World, a $4 billion resort. And I remember those payphones, the bank of about 8 payphones right in front. But we used to have 8 o'clock on when the opening numbers would come out. They would limit us, the sportsbook supervisors there would limit. There were like 8 of us. We're all going for the same value, the same numbers, and they would limit us to $300 per bet at that time because most of us were going after the total. So
that's not much at all.
No, it's not. But again, we were all really going hard on the totals, and it was crazy because no matter who any one of us ate that would do that, Chip, would move the number a half point and a half.
Right.
Very interesting. But yeah, you talk about, you have to be a bit of a chameleon because the more things change, the more they stay the same. You have to have an innate sense as far as handicapping and understanding numbers, odds, laws of probability. But again, to your point, when you're talking about in-game betting that we didn't have before, the prop betting that we didn't have, I want to ask you about your betting strategy. You mentioned that I prefer second half betting. And one of the reasons is because the sports books have from Sunday to Sunday, 7 days to get the side and total right. But halftime, I've already seen the first half, and I don't know anything that the odds makers don't already know. The only difference is, my friend, they have about an 8 to 10 minute window to get that number right, and I'm ready there to pounce if they make a mistake.
Well, evaluating their number, I always feel and have felt that they know more about it than I do. They really do. And a lot of times I see this number and I think it's an inducement. Why did they hang this number on this particular game? And it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of knowledge, and a gut feel for what the pulse of the country is. When you see a number on a game, and just trying to remember, the bookmaker's not your friend, and he's not going to give you gifts. One of the things that irritates me, and I just keep my mouth shut, is when you're doing shows and somebody says, well, we're getting great value. Oh, really? And why? I mean, why would the bookmaker give you value? So it's like, don't think, that's how I've always approached it. And once I had the discipline, and sometimes it's very tough to go against your instinct. Because a lot of times it's against your instinct, and your mind says, well, I like this team, and then you're having this flow of information come in, and you're going, oh, I may have the wrong side here. And I'm old school. Now, I'm not looking to bet halftime. You're looking to make money at every chance and every turn and every opportunity in game. I'm sure you're betting as well, whereas I'm just throwing my best shot at the side, sometimes the total, for the entire game. And your intensity during a game, and we used to call it frying, or frying during the game, must increase tremendously because there's a lot of pressure and you're getting instant results, and you don't have to wait 3 hours to get a result. you're getting feedback almost immediately. You're betting the first half, the first quarter, first touchdown, or whatever it is. You know right away.
Well, it's funny you say that because, again, they play the Star Spangled Banner every single day.
Right.
I generally have action every single day. But from a 6-month window, from September until Super Bowl, it's almost always lucrative, but it is a mind grind. It's emotionally taxing. And so I always, to get away, chill, decompress, relax, clear my mind, I skip town. Forget that. I skip the country. I go to Thailand for a couple months each and every year. I'm asking you, my friend, what do you do to get away, to chill, decompress, relax?
I go to the beach. I usually go down. We work our tail off until the Super Bowl, and then even in Las Vegas, it gets a little chilly in the end of February. So I go down to Florida and have a place down there, and I chill out until the NCAA basketball tournament starts, and I come back for that out here. And in the summertime, you're still working through it. Especially with the internet, we have no days off. Right? I mean, every day there's baseball, there's something going on, and sometimes you have multiple sports. So I'll go back to Connecticut in the summertime, visit my friends, and then come back out here August 1st when the preseason starts and get geared up. You're really, from what we do, I mean, you look forward to coming back here. It's something you're excited about it. I mean, I miss football. I mean, how many people get depressed the day after the Super Bowl? It's
a hangover, man. There's no football for 6 months.
There's no football. It's such a crescendo. It builds up to that point, and then all of a sudden it's down. But we have to keep going because there's NBA, there's college basketball going on at the same time, and spring training is just around the corner.
Right on.
And we love that. I mean, just a scent of spring. That gets you going, but it becomes a grind during the summer with baseball every day. You got early games and night games, and I'm usually putting in 2 different shifts. I'll do at night. I'll prep what I'm looking at for the morning, and then in the morning I'll confirm what I'm doing and get the games out. Usually by 9 Eastern or 10 Eastern. They're on the websites.
I have a lot of respect for you because anyone can be a one-hit wonder. Anyone can win short term, but you've done it consistently, proven it, duplicatable process over decades. One of my questions would be, I want to talk specifically about your betting strategy, but before we get to that, because oftentimes someone that's really good at something, ultimately when they started, they were really bad. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the mistakes you think the average sports bettor makes, or maybe mistakes that you made 100 years ago when you were starting out, as to why most people who bet sports lose.
If they're recreational and they're betting with their heart, they have a problem. If you're looking to get even with a team or chasing a team, they owe you. You got to stay away from those kind of traps. Right. You get into a mindset. I mean, we've had Kansas, TCU, a few teams out there are 0-4 right now and against the number. And we're always watching. I'm very leery of that, watching for a team who everyone's looking to bounce back and get a win. And Cincinnati might be that team this year where they're just not going to get there.
Meaning the Bengals?
Yes.
Yeah, they will get there, but go ahead. I'm listening.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, and no team is as bad one week to the next, unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, and from 1 week to the next, and no team is as good, usually, for the most part.
Right.
And you got to be careful of these streaks because the number is supposed to be the equalizer. And yet there are some teams that'll just win 6, 7 in a row, and people are waiting to play against them, and you have to be able to recognize what's going on out there, and some teams are that much better.
Yeah, I always look at it like it's a 3-hour contract, nothing more, nothing less. People ask me, who's my favorite team? And I always say, whoever's on my ticket.
Exactly.
I have a love-hate relationship week to week on each and every team. I can make an argument for any team if you want to give me a good number. And I want to ask you about CLV, closing line value, because you seem a bit counterintuitive, and you speak, I listen. I'm a big CLV, closing line value guy. If I can lay 2.5 on Tuesday, and on Sunday if it closes 5, if I can get a half point and half, the best of it on every single bet long term, I feel strongly I'm going to win.
I agree with you 100% on that. The number is so important. When I see a 5.5 and I'm taking a dog invariable, I have to move it to 6. I have to. Some places here in town, 2.5, they won't let you go to 3. Very stingent about that.
Yeah.
And that's why the offshores became so popular, because you could, you pay a heavier price, but you're paying for it. So it's worth it, I think. I don't like. I wouldn't buy a game, say it's at 4, and take the dog to get 4.5. But I would buy from 3.5 to 4 if I had the dog to take a push, as opposed to throwing the extra money to get a win off the push. If you know what I'm saying. And parlays are tough. Don't get hooked up in thinking you're going to. The reason why they're offering you a little bit more money is because it's hard enough to pick one game. Your chances of winning a parlay are that much more remote. And like we said, if the book is taking you out to dinner, you're in trouble. You better reevaluate the games you're taking and why you're taking those games. And it's difficult to break that mindset. Like you said, how did I get into it? So I'm looking at these cards and I'm week by week and I'm interpreting these numbers. And I said, well, I'm supposed to be doing this, but who wants to take an 0-11 Pitt Panther team against Notre Dame and they're only getting 3.5? Well, what no one knew is that Tony Dorsett was going to make his debut. And the Pitt Panthers all of a sudden were a team to be dealing with. And they beat Notre Dame. They hadn't beaten them in 20 years. But the number was an indicator. Because if it looks like it's a gift and it's so easy, I'd say reevaluate it. Look at it. And it's one of the reasons I have, say, so much difficulty with the totals. Not difficulties, but I don't, because trying to decide if that number is bringing people in from one way or another. Super Bowl, I think, is one of the easier times with the total because there's so much action.
And that's the one game where Joe Public from Topeka will outbet sharps and wise guys like you and me, and they have a 2-week window. I tend to lean on the under overall in a Super Bowl, especially the first quarter, because teams don't want to take themselves out per turnovers and gunslinging right from the get-go. So under first quarter has been a pretty good play in the past. And I want to expand on this because I know what I can do, Chip can do better. I've been to 6 Super Bowls, including last year, set me back $9,300 to make it holla. And I would do it again because Kansas City with an exacta at 17-1 at Circa, winner, steak and lobster dinner. I'm here to tell you, 6 Super Bowls, that's nothing compared to what Chipper. How many Super Bowls, my friend?
I've been to 24.
Amazing.
And I didn't get in this year. They wouldn't let me near. Usually we'd go without tickets and we would hustle through scalpers. But the electronic age has really cut that down. There's no paper for you to be able to walk into.
Yeah.
And sometimes we snuck in and bribed people and snuck indoors. But, I wanted to go to that 25th one. I thought I'd had a shot here when I was in Vegas this year. Because like you said, you didn't have the airfare and the room. And usually we're playing golf or doing something. But they've been great trips. I mean, going to Pasadena, going to warm weather cities were much better. And they say went to Minnesota once. They say, we have a mall. I go, what? So what? If I'm in San Diego, I can play in golf.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl experience, the first time I went, I knew I was done. I mean, you said you've been to 6 and you had no problem shelling out almost $10,000 for a ticket.
Right.
And unless people go, I'd rather watch it on TV. You have no idea the ambiance about getting there 2-3 hours early and people dressed and the energy. And it's a great event. I mean, I like the big events. And I am also very fortunate, Scott, because I've been unlucky in love. No, I guess I've been lucky in love because I'm still single.
Congratulations.
And I've been able to go.
No wonder you have so much money.
I didn't have to answer to anybody. I can go, and I didn't have to worry about feeling guilty about leaving the kids at home, and I'm selfish in that way, and it's a life we've chosen.
Congrats. You've created an amazing life. Absolutely.
For it,
right on.
I knew that I was doing women a favor by saying it'll never work. I spent 6 months in Vegas. I travel the country. Then I come back. You're going to want to nest. You're going to want to establish. And so I never really had relationships that lasted more than 3 years before they started to catch on. What was going. And I said from the very beginning, this is going to be very difficult to work out because of, plus the fact that the pressure and the tension. Sometimes you just don't want to be bothered. It's difficult to lift your head off the pillow some mornings. And, that's what I said about being selfish. Otherwise I'd have to go and bring the kids to school, or I'd have to come back and I'd have to be dealing with the fact that I loaded the dishwasher incorrectly. And it doesn't happen now.
Well, to your point, as a single guy
Yeah.
who's been on both sides of the fence as far as married, single,
Right.
single, I firmly believe at my advanced age that I prefer pleasing many women as opposed to making one woman miserable.
Yep. Well, I understand that. But you are in Las Vegas year round. I'm still traveling.
Right on. Good for you. And I have to preface all of this by saying I'm in love with the
Well,
love
God
of my
bless you
life.
for
I've been with
that.
the same gal for 6 years and counting, so she's awesome.
That's the luck of the draw, because it's when you have a good relationship and things are great. Things are nothing better, really.
Right on.
And
for sure.
I understand that, but it's hard to maintain.
One other question I want to mention before we get into the best bets and the 20% discount here at Let's Bet is I want to get what you would say are your top 3 skills to be a successful, winning, duplicatable, proven sports bettor.
I think the ability to adjust, and I think not getting locked in. I wanted to ask you: do you bet futures?
I do.
You do. I always had difficulty with that because I felt like I was locking myself in to that club, and maybe it comes later in the year, and I have to give against them, and I'm in conflict about that. And maybe my clients might know that I've got Kansas City to win it, and here I am playing against them. Are they doubting my integrity and thinking I'm just hedging my bet? So I don't like to do that.
I bet it's a great question. I appreciate you bringing it up and putting me on the spot on my own show, but I'm going to address it.
Yeah.
I keep the main thing, which is beating the number, beating the book on a consistent long-term, week-in, week-out basis. But I bet numbers and value more than I'll ever bet a team. So again, as I mentioned, November 21st last year, it was a hedge bet, an exacta KC at 17-1 against the Niners, only because I had the Ravens at 15-1 to win the conference, and they slid in as the number 1 seed. I'm thinking, okay, if it's not Baltimore coming out of the AFC,
right,
who's it going to be? And chances are there'll be a small favorite or a small dog, and at 17-1, I'd much rather take that than 5-1 for them to win the Super Bowl at that time. So again, but I also keep them totally separate. I go 1 week at a time, 3-hour contract, but I'll do that future bet and put it away. Go ahead.
Well, I think you get much more value the way you're doing things with the totals than you would from the number on a game, that the spread on the point spread, because I think they're probably weaker, and most people that I know that have been successful use totals, and I'm old school in a way. I want to have someone to root for, and I used to tease all of my friends. You don't have the standings to take a side. You're sitting there taking a total. You're rooting for both sides. You're rooting against both sides in the same game, and that always bothered me, a little conflict.
Well, I'm limited at most places, whether I'm betting a side, point spread, or a total, but there's a specific reason as why they really will limit you overall, no matter who you are, on totals as opposed to point spreads. But back to the Super Bowl, that's the one game where Joe Public, because it's 2 weeks and everyone and their grandmother bets the Super Bowl. It's kind of like amateur night out on New Year's Eve. You don't drink all year, but you get plowed and shit-faced on New Year's Eve, and you act like an idiot. Same way here. Everybody will bet the Super Bowl, even though they're not sharp and they don't really have an opinion. They're just betting it because it's the Super Bowl, and that oftentimes will outweigh sharps and wise guys like yourself.
It does at times, and the office pools don't affect this because everybody's got a square or a box or something. But like you said, everybody comes out of the woodwork to bet this game. They have a side they want, and like my uncle used to say, "Oh, you like the high or low?"
Right on. That's good.
And I'd say, "Well, we're going to go low."
Chip, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to address our best bets for the weekend. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
World champion handicapper, Las Vegas' biggest daily sports bettor, Joe D'Amico. How excited. I just did my good friend Scott Pritchard's show, Let's Bet, one of the sharpest guys in this business. I don't make a move without him. You shouldn't either. And you're watching Let's Bet.
My good friend Joe D'Amico, also a personal friend of Chip Chirimbes, my guest this week on Let's Bet. Scott Pritchard, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com, home of Pritchard's Pick of the Day. It's time now for Best Bets, and this is what you've been waiting for. It's time for the coupon code. 20% off picks, packages, you name it. I'm giving it away. Weekend. That is the code. Get locked and loaded. Bet early, bet often, avoid the risk of being shut out. Weekend, there's your code. Chip, your top 1 to 3 plays for the weekend, my friend.
You know, here I am telling you, don't go chasing teams, right? And last week, I do like this game. Last week, I'm coming off a big win with Michigan, and we're 3-0 in the colleges right now with our top plays. I wanted to get that in, but I am playing two teams that are meeting each other that I gave out last week. That were my 2 losses in college, and now they're playing each other. So one of them is going to get their comeuppance. I think Auburn at home against this Oklahoma team. I didn't like what I saw from Oklahoma against the Volunteers last Saturday night, and yet Auburn loses to Arkansas, and we're never in it. And if you know how you go back and you could check stats, and you see teams committed 5 turnovers, and they've missed 2 field goal attempts, and they outgained the opposition by over 100 yards. I think Auburn's a lot better than people realize. Bo Nix isn't there anymore, and the big stars aren't there, but somehow I think that team comes. I'm using Auburn over Oklahoma. That's my top play of the entire weekend on at least Saturday. I have a blowout game that I just I looked at it and I said that line's very high, and I usually don't like to lay these kind of favorites. I think Penn State is going to show Illinois that beating Nebraska doesn't mean a thing when you have the Nittany Lions. They're averaging 550 yards on offense, and I think they just got too much balance. And I've always felt that the Illini were imposters. Every year they never got to. Iowa was better.
Right on.
Right? So Derrick Rose is gone, and they'll be saddened about that. And my final play is Boise State. They come up 7.5 point favorite over a Pac-12 team, Pac-2, whatever they have left over there, Washington State. Washington State scoring 70 points a game, and now you're giving them a touchdown to a school like Boise. And you do a little research. Boise's got to win. They want to be part of that Big 12 that is going to make it at the end of the year, and they're not coming out of a big conference here. So this game's more important for Boise than it is for Washington State. I think the idea of making them this big a favorite over a Pac-12 team, I think they're really trying to invite you. Remember, I said, it looks like an inducement. Let me take the Cougars. They scored 70 points 2 weeks ago, 55 the week before that, and now you're giving them a touchdown plus. So that's it. I've got Auburn on top. I'm going to have Penn State and Boise State.
I like it. I want to wish you good luck.
Thank
Even
you.
though luck is a residue of design, I would never bet against the Chipper. I've got 1 play 1 time, not 3, but 1 play 1 time. I usually give out 5 to 7 NFL games on my site. Check that out each and every Sunday. Also on Saturday, 5 to 7 college football plays. But on this show, I started giving out the best bet 3 weeks ago. 2-0 at this point. This would be week number 3. Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus the points, plus 8 against the Lions. Won the game straight up. Didn't need the points. Last week on this show, Eagles plus 3 minus 20. Are you kidding me? How do these sports books stay open? They had the wrong team favored again. That was then. This is now. Last week is history. Today's game, this weekend's action is a mystery. I'm going to help you unsolve it. Saturday night, Vegas, 5 o'clock kickoff. It's Wyoming against Air Force, under 34. See the cashier. Chip, how can people reach out? How can they find you?
Thank you, Scott. Originally I started this, I was a teacher, and we'd give out 1 play, and we would call it the A play.
Love it.
Right? And but people wanted more action, so we'd post a lot more games, and we evolved into chipwins.com. And you can go to chipwins.com and get my top play of the day. It'll be listed. If you want any more, you're going to have to call me, and my number's listed right there, and I'll pick up. I'll talk to you if you call.
You want to give the number out, my friend?
The number is 702-931-CHIP. 702-931-CHIP, 2447. And that comes exclusively to me.
I love it. I want to thank you for being you. Thanks for being a guest on Let's Bet. I'm sure we'll have you back.
Thank you very much.
Chip Chirimbes, the 2008 Las Vegas Hilton champion. Are you kidding me? Outpicking countless others, hundreds, thousands of people. No one can ever take that away from him. I have to tell you, friendly reminder, go to pritchardspicks.com, the pritchardspicks.com, easy for me to say. The best picks are paid picks at Pritchard's Picks. The discount code, boys and girls, 20% off. It's not only applicable to picks, but all packages. That includes the Pritchard's Pick of the Day, the monthly fee. It's a recurring fee, but you're locked and loaded at 20% off by using the coupon code weekend. Also get locked and loaded for Pritchard's Pick of the Day. For Chip Chirimbes, my name is Scott Pritchard, professional sports bettor, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com. Until next weekend, see the cashier.